First tonight, a deadly weekend on Miami Valley roads. 3 deadly crashes in 48 hours.
Now, as Lydia Bice explains, local law enforcement now has a warning for you tonight. So, Lydia, what are they telling drivers to make sure that they're doing?
Yeah, Adam and Elise, I was told today that those crashes happened either from distracted driving or overcorrection. Both fairly common on our roadways, according to investigators. That first crash happened in Riverside, where a man was killed on Troy Pike Saturday. The second deadly crash of the weekend happened Sunday near Frederick Pike and Rivers Edge Boulevard in Dayton.
It's pretty miserable in our buildings. Classroom temperatures, it's not unheard of to get triple digits on days like this. So as a precaution, we send them home a little early.
So how do we prevent tragedies like this from happening?
Well, when it comes to overcorrection issues, Dayton police say that it's likely caused by tire blowouts or wet roads, and it's important not to immediately steer back onto the road in a reckless way. There's also the issue of distracted or impaired driving, so put your phone down and call an Uber if you've been drinking. Back to you.
All right, Lydia, thank you. We also have an update tonight on a pedestrian strike that left a 9-year-old girl in Dayton Children's Hospital with one of her legs amputated. Now, this morning, Dayton police, they got the blood alcohol level of the accused driver, Jeffrey Atkinson, at the time of the crash.
At the time of the crash, Mr. Atkinson was more than 4 times the legal limit of alcohol. I'll say that again. Mr. Atkinson was more than 4 times the legal limit of alcohol in his blood system.
Police say he also had marijuana in his system and a prescription drug for anxiety that causes drowsiness, lightheadedness, and more when it's mixed with alcohol.
Now, you mix this medication with the amount of alcohol that was in his blood, and it is just an absolutely dangerous situation.
That 9-year-old little girl remains in Dayton Children's tonight, recovering after one of her limbs was amputated. Jeffrey Atkinson remains in the Montgomery County Jail on a number of charges. More are pending now that police have all these results.
Tonight, we now know what led up to a SWAT standoff in Dayton that happened last night. Now, it happened here in the first block of Trenton Street. Now, that just before 9 o'clock last night, Dayton police got a call saying that a suspect went to their neighbor's house over a $20 debt and then ended up shooting multiple rounds into the home. Luckily, no one was seriously hurt. Police say that suspect ran off and barricaded themselves in an apartment, leading to that SWAT standoff.
Ultimately, it led to, again, a lot of police resources. It led to potentially a person dying or could have died from this senseless violence. And, and then we have the SWAT team in a neighborhood at 11 o'clock at night till about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Now, the suspect in the case will likely face an aggravated assault charge, according to Sergeant Cairns, but detectives are still working on presenting charges to the Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office.
All right, let's give you a live look from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam. Plenty of clouds, a little bit of blue sky there, but it is hot, hot, hot once again.
Another hot one across the area. Storms have pretty much missed the region. Now, we still have the potential for a storm to fire up through the rest of this evening, but most of this activity has stayed south of our area. In fact, taking a look just southeast of Cincinnati, heavy rain, lightning, some gusty winds. Now, there is an outflow boundary, so there's cool air rushing out ahead of the storms pretty much in all directions, and that could actually trigger another shower storm to develop potentially over our region, so we'll monitor for that. But overall, not anticipating widespread rain, so not really anticipating much to cool us off at all. Heat advisory remains in effect for the next couple of hours until 8 p.m. We are looking at temperatures right now in the 90s. We topped out at 94. We're 92 in Dayton. We have 92 in Troy. Notice dew points not terrible off to the north. So our feels like temperatures, that heat index mainly high for our central and southern counties. I'll talk about when we'll finally cool off coming up in just a bit.
We're learning tonight Valley View local schools are canceling school for the remainder of the week, all due to the extreme heat. And they are not only the school district in the Miami Valley closing or even releasing early. Eli Burgett is now out at Valley View right now. So Eli, why are these cancellations happening?
Well, really, it all comes down to air conditioning. Schools in the area that don't have AC are closing for the day or releasing students early, one of which being Valley View. But even schools that have air conditioning in their buildings are having to cancel or postpone certain outdoor events because it's just too hot. Today, I spoke to the superintendent of Troy City Schools, who tells me what students and staff are experiencing indoors.
Pretty miserable in our buildings. Classroom temperatures, it's not unheard of to get triple digits on days like this. So as a precaution, we sent them home a little early.
During this unbearable heat wave, local schools like Troy and Valley View without centralized air conditioning are struggling, causing them to cancel or let out school early. They say their older buildings trap the heat inside the walls, making it too hot for students and staff to learn and teach safely. But even school districts who have air conditioning are having to cancel many outdoor athletic competitions for athlete safety. Coming up at 6:30 on Fox 45, a closer look at how this heat wave has affected our local schools. Back to you.
And if you need a place to cool down this week, the city of Dayton is using its 3 recreation centers as cooling centers from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. through Friday. You can head out to the Greater Dayton, Low Ray, and Northwest recreation centers. The addresses are there on your screen. Additionally, you can head out to the city's splash pads free. Of course, they're open every day from noon until 8 p.m. And we have all this information and those addresses in the web version of this story on our website. Just click on the heat advisory story.
Montgomery County Adam is taking the next steps to secure crisis services for the community. Now, this morning, the board held an informational conference to discuss the wants and needs of the community before proposals are submitted to become crisis services providers in the area. Now, crisis services came to a stop back in May, you may remember, after RI International pulled out of the area. Providers have until September 30th to submit their applications.
We would love to be able to take proposals to our board in November so contracts can be awarded before the end of the year and crisis services can begin in the first quarter of 2025.
So service providers looking to apply can head to the website on your screen right now. That is mcadamus.org. That is also where you can find support and treatment options if you are in need of any of those services. Well, as absentee ballot request forms are sent to voters this week, Secretary of State Frank LaRose issuing a warning to Ohioans. In a statement, LaRose is asking voters to remain vigilant on completing forms not labeled as official election mail or from a trusted source. That'll protect voters and also ensure voters who want a ballot will get one. Official absentee ballots will begin being mailed out October 8th. And as the general election approaches, here are some important dates to keep in mind. Military and overseas absentee voting begins on the 20th of September. The deadline to register to vote for the November election is October 7th. You can register in person at the boards of elections until 9 p.m. or online until 11:59 p.m. Absentee and early in-person voting begins the following day on October 8th. Early in-person voting includes the 2 Saturdays and Sundays before Election Day. And Election Day itself, November 5th, polls open at 6:30 in the morning, close at 7:30 that night.
After complaints and rule changes, it looks like we will be getting a debate between Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump next month.
I think both candidates here have agreed to the exact same rules, right? We're going to have a 90-minute debate. Both candidates have said that they are comfortable with live unmuted microphones for the duration of the debate.
There were questions over whether Trump would take part, but he posted it to Truth Social that he decided he will. Now, he's been criticizing the host of the debate, ABC News, arguing it should be on another network. Then the Harris campaign requested the microphones be turned on the entire time instead of muted based on whose turn it is to speak. Previously, President Biden and Trump used the muted mics during their debate. Trump says he's fine with leaving the mics unmuted.
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine.
The debate is scheduled to take place September 10th on ABC.
New details tonight on the assassination attempt on Trump. The FBI says the gunman searched online for events of both Trump and President Biden ahead of that attack. Now, Thomas Crooks shot at Trump during a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania last month. The FBI releasing new photos of the gun that he used, as well as a backpack and explosives he had in his car. Now, according to the FBI, Crooks did extensive planning, saw the Trump rally as a, quote, target of opportunity. The agency has conducted nearly 1,000 interviews so far in the investigation. A motive has not yet been identified.
President Biden's student loan repayment plan will remain on hold for now. In an unsigned order today, the Supreme Court says it will wait for a more in-depth decision from the appeals court overseeing the program's legal challenges. Now, the program is dubbed the SAVE Plan, and it aims to lower monthly payments and offer a faster path to loan cancellation. A lower court placed parts of that plan on hold to allow lawsuits from Republican-led states to play out. President Biden introduced the plan last year after the Supreme Court shot down his $400 billion student loan forgiveness program.
23 years after a triple murder, the victim's family ready to share their story. How she is now helping other victims through the grieving process.
Lawmakers working to revamp Ohio NIL laws, how they expect these changes to impact recruitment efforts.
And the heat continues on. How much longer it will last and when we'll see some rain that's coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Sponsored by the Auto Accident Lawyers at
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Several fog bows were spotted along the South Carolina coast this morning. Because water droplets that cause fog are so small, the colors in the bow are weak. A thin red band on the outside is usually the most prominent color. And check out sunrise yesterday morning at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. You can clearly see Mount Rainier's shadow on the clouds.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
More than 23 years after a heinous triple murder rocked the tri-state, the daughter of one of the victims is speaking publicly now for the first time in hopes of helping others. Morella Porter is here now with her story.
In June 2001, Stanley Fitzpatrick brutally murdered his girlfriend, Doretha Hayes, her 12-year-old daughter, Shanae, and their neighbor, Elton R.B. Rose in Lincoln Heights. For a long time, Rose's youngest daughter was trapped in grief. Speaking publicly about what happened has become part of her healing journey. She recently published this book titled The Soul's Journey to help others turn their suffering into strength. It is a reflective journal that uses bits and pieces of her story to guide people and ask questions. Vicki shared her book with me ahead of National Grief Awareness Day on Friday. She encourages anyone who is stuck in grief to take the first step, and she believes her book can help.
we have to live forward. We have to give ourselves permission to live. We have to know it's not our fault. We have to know that we're not alone in this journey.
Yeah, and Vicki has sent it to mental health organizations, psychologists, and therapists as a tool to offer people who are struggling.
Well, that was Morella Porter reporting. All right, so let's talk weather. That's our other big story of the day. It's another hot one. Yep. Looking for maybe some pop-up rain, but it doesn't look like anything's coming yet.
Yeah, a lot of that has stayed to the south of us. Still can't rule out a spot shower or storm, but as of right now, it's looking like the bulk of this precipitation will miss our region, but we'll monitor how things develop through the rest of this evening. But you can see how really we're quiet currently. Our frontal boundary is really right over the area. In fact, just south of our region, that's where we have a lot of those storms firing up right now. We'll monitor for a shower or storm through the rest of this evening, but fairly quiet weather and just a warm evening expected across the Miami Valley. And you can see that here. Other than a spot shower, we're looking pretty good, waking up to 60s and 70s early tomorrow morning. Now tomorrow, not going to be quite as hot. I do think we'll get to right around 90 degrees. It'll still be pretty humid, but not quite as hot as we've been over these past couple of days. Heading into our Friday, starting out in the 70s, back into the 90s again. But by Friday afternoon and evening, we'll also be monitoring for a shower or thunderstorm to develop with a very low end risk for a strong to severe storm, very similar to what we had today with damaging wind gusts being the primary concern. Overall, it doesn't look like a whole lot of coverage with this, but we'll continue to monitor for those storms heading into our Friday, as of course, Friday night football will be happening, so I'm going to be watching that very closely. We do have much cooler weather on the way, so I'm going to time that out for you coming up here in just a little bit.
A story from our partners at the Dayton Business Journal. A local college received a $126,000 investment to expand training. Clark State College landed the investment to expand their motor vehicle operator safety training. Now it comes from the Department of Transportation. Those funds will allow Clark State to start recruiting and even enrolling more students into their commercial driver's license program. We have all the details right now at Dayton247now.com. You can find this story and others like it under the Dayton Business Journal heading in the news tab.
Welcome into the Bob's Discount Furniture Sports Desk. State lawmakers, they're looking to revamp Ohio's name, image, and likeness laws. State Representative Adam Matthews was barely 10 minutes into the news conference about it when he addressed the issue likely on the minds of Buckeye fans, and that is recruitment. He says he does expect this to impact recruitment efforts. Matthews teaming with Representative Jay Edwards of Nelsonville to update state law on how athletes can benefit from their name, image, and likeness. Edwards says the NIL landscape has changed greatly since Ohio's original law was enacted more than 3 years ago. The new one would allow universities and the collectives that ink NIL agreements to work directly with each other and allow universities to directly pay athletes. Still, many legal issues remain up in the air nationally, such as the prospect of revenue sharing with NCAA team members.
Managing the safety of more than 100,000 people on a football game day, of course, is a year-long effort. And Ohio State kicks off their football season this coming Saturday. So today, OSU police walked everyone through what it takes to make sure your fan experience is smooth from tailgate to the final whistle. Kate Seifert shows us everything you need to know to get ready for kickoff.
We just wrapped up a conversation with the leaders here at Ohio State as we get ready for OSU's home opener against Akron on Saturday. OSU police say there will be a law enforcement presence at all corners of the shoe, even if you can't see them. They'll be keeping their eyes on the sky, on the ground, and off campus as well. Let's talk about what you can and can't do when you go into a game. One of those things is their bag policy. OSU has a no bag policy except for something like this, a small fanny pack. They say anything you try to bring in has to be the same size or smaller than a half sheet of paper. Reporting outside the shoe, I'm Kate Seifert.
And of course, Thursday Night Lights Week 2 kicks off tomorrow night. Every single week, we highlight a local matchup between schools across the Miami Valley. Tomorrow night, you've got Greenview going head-to-head with Waynesville. We're going to be broadcasting that game, of course, over on MyTV Dayton. That's 22.3 over the air or Spectrum Channel 24. We'll also catch you up on the best plays that night at 10 and 11.
Your day kicking off the football season with touchdown trivia. All this week, you could score a daily $100 prepaid debit card and be the $5,000 National Weekly winner. For complete rules, go to Dayton247now.com/contest.
And it is going to be another hot one for some football tomorrow, as well as for our Friday, potentially another 90-degree day, which we hit today, 94. So we've seen 18 90-degree days so far this year, and again above our yearly average of 14.2. And it does look like we will hit 20 by the end of this week. So it has been a hot week. But the good news is that fall-like weather returns by next week. So we got 90s. Even this weekend will still be pretty warm, although a little better than we have been. And then upper 70s, lower 80s return by next week, with that lower humidity that starts to return too. Still a little bit sticky next several days. Saturday, a little spike with some rain in the forecast before we get that drier, more comfortable air arriving. I'll have a look at our 7-day coming up in just a bit.
This weekend, you can step into a world of fantasy. Coming up, we're going to have a sneak peek at what you can expect from this year's Renaissance Festival.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
It's only paint.
See.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Well, it's time to transport back in time to the days of nights in Queens. Alex King tells us about the Ohio Renaissance Festival as we get ready for opening weekend.
RenFest is coming up this weekend, a lot to look forward to. So we're going to talk to a few people behind making the magic happen. So what can people expect? And we've actually got one of the things you can expect here with us.
Well, it's 35 acres of fun. You're going to come out. We have 17 stages spread out over those 35 acres, and we have over 100 live shows a day. Everything from jousting to traditional music, drinking songs, lots of comedy, variety acts. It is loads of fun.
Very exciting. What's one of your favorite things about it?
Ooh, one of my favorite things is the animal acts. The horses, the dogs, the rabbits.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, definitely lots to look forward to. Hopefully you can make it out this weekend and enjoy the weather because it's not going to be warm for much longer. Back to you guys.
Well, it's heating up for football again, so heading out to TNL tomorrow. I'm going to be out there as Waynesville takes on Greenview at Greenview. Going to be a warm one, upper 80s, and then eventually dropping into the upper 70s. Big difference from last week where we had 70s and low humidity. It's going to be still pretty sticky. Can't completely rule out a shower, but for the most part, I think we're going to be dry with our extended forecast. Showing rain chances increasing. We got a chance for a few storms developing by our Friday with those lower 90s and then lower 80s. Scattered rain and storms on Saturday. It doesn't look like a complete washout of a day, but we will be tracking some on and off rain and storms Saturday as our cold front begins to make its way in. Mid 80s, slightly lower humidity on Sunday. Labor Day looking great. Sunshine, 70s, and then we stay pretty pleasant through most of next week as well. Now, I will say with these rain chances,